Hello viewers, I'm James May, and as you might be able to see, I've spilt my drink on my shirt. But never mind that, I'm here to answer your difficult questions. No, I don't think I do. I quite like a good conspiracy theory, especially if it's well thought out, so it's made to stack up, even though you know it's almost certainly complete cobblers. I like conspiracy theories about people never went to the moon. I know they did. I've seen the photographs of the remains of the lunar modules on the moon taken by Japanese and I think Indian spacecraft mapping the surface of the moon. And the idea that it could be covered up would be more remarkable and harder than actually doing it. But I've watched some conspiracy theories about moon landings being fake and about nuclear weapons being fake that have been extremely well thought out by people who perhaps should really be authors of thrillers, because they make it almost convincing. And I like that, because that suggests that somebody's put a lot of work and imagination into it rather than just repeated some vague guff about that lizards are actually ruling the world or one of those things. They're just rubbish. But a well-constructed conspiracy theory is, it's a yarn, and yarns are good. Well, they'd all be useful in that they're my friends, and that is a useful quality in itself. Specific jobs. I mean, believe it or not, I think following the zombie apocalypse, Richard Hammond would be quite a useful person to know, because he's actually quite handy, he's quite robust, he's a bit deranged, but you can sort of work around that. So what are my friends good at? I can think of several friends who are good at making life more peaceful. Men and women I know who you like having there in a big group, because they sort of bring a level. My friends can get quite rowdy and argumentative, but there are certain people who have a calming effect. I'm not going to name them because they might watch this, and then if I leave some out, they'll say, but I have a calming effect and you haven't mentioned me. In fact, this question is designed to end these very friendships that you talk of. I hope I'm reasonably patient, and I'm not tough by any means, but I hope I'm robust enough to endure some hardship and adversity. And I'm reasonably practical, so I can, light fires and cook food and make things out of wood, use tools, sing songs, tell jokes, etc. Oh, I'm sure we could find a use for Jeremy Clarkson in the zombie apocalypse. Target practice? No. I mean, he's... Jeremy and I are very different people. We're not sort of natural buddies, but I actually quite enjoy his company, because he's not an opponent, but he's a great opposite, and we can sort of bounce off each other quite well. I've done some extremely long car journeys with him, such as to the North Pole, famously. And how long were we together sitting in a car? I think it was sort of 2 weeks. We didn't have any crosswords or fallout. We had some very entertaining conversations about things like sandwich fillings, and made up, little jokes and little stories like you do when you're with people you know well on a long car journey. So I think he'd be good for that. He'd be an entertainment, first and foremost, which you need, because society has always needed theatre, jugglers, clowns, jesters, minstrels, town criers, acrobats, TV presenters, that sort of thing. Society would be rather empty without it. I'd take Lucy Brown. I haven't mentioned Lucy Brown, which is very remiss of me. I think Lucy Brown would be very useful in the zombie apocalypse, or the post-zombie apocalypse, because she could make a vlog about it. Behind the scenes of the zombie apocalypse with Lucy Brown. Yes. I would always want to survive. I can't imagine or maybe it's because my imagination isn't good enough, and they obviously do exist, but I can't imagine a set of circumstances bad enough that would make me say, well, I'm just going to end this. You know, opening the door of the lunar module on the moon type moment. I don't think I could do that. I'd fight the dying of the light to the end. Oh, I haven't read very much science fiction, although I did read a bit when I was younger, when I used to read a lot before I followed Philip Larkin's advice. And I think I'd probably read about the past more, because most things are actually set in the past. Even things we were doing earlier on today are now in the past, so if I retell them as an anecdote, they're in the past. A study of reading habits. When getting my nose in a book cured most things short of school, he goes on about reading books and about how it all goes stale for him. And at the end he says, get stewed, books are a load of crap. He was a miserable bugger, but an extremely good poet. Yes. Certainly in the past I read a huge amount of poetry, and it probably arrested my development in some ways. I was actually that rather nerdy bloke who would sit under a tree with a slim volume of verse like Omar Khayyam. Here with a loaf of bread beneath the bough, a flask of wine, a book of verse, and thou beside me singing in the wilderness. Because I could have been doing something constructive instead of reading medieval English lyrics, some of which I can still recite by heart. It's terrible, really. I sing of a maiden who is mateless, king of all kings, for her son she chose. He came so still where his mother lay, as dew in April that falleth on the spray. And so it goes on. I can do the whole thing, but I won't bore you. Top Gear never actually existed.
I don't see how you would argue that.
No, I've just thought that was the first thing that came into my head, and I'm not sure how you could argue that either. A conspiracy theory. Wow, I mean, they're quite... I mean, they tend the good ones tend to be about big things like, I mean, not lizards so much, but the Illuminati, we didn't really go to the moon, there isn't really any such thing as nuclear weapons, the world is being controlled by a secret order of people who want you to own nothing and be happy. Those are the ones, so you'd have to think of something quite big to make a good conspiracy theory. Let's have a think. I mean, some conspiracy theories are very ugly, like the Holocaust deniers and so on. Some are quite good fun, like the world is actually being overrun by invisible lizards or whatever. What would be a good... That's a very good question. What's a good conspiracy theory? Yes, I'll have to come back to you on a conspiracy theory, because I think that's too difficult. I'd have to think. I'll get back to you, viewers, at some point in the future with a conspiracy theory. But in the meantime, thank you for watching, and I hope that... How long was that, Lucy?
12 minutes.
That wasn't 12 minutes that you wish you could have back.